Hello and welcome to Habano News. Today I'm going to talk to you about aged vintage cigars. First, I'm going to light up a cigar. So this is a jar of Añejados. This is the main cardboard box. You see here the La Casa del Habano band that we're going to find obviously on the cigar. And this is a jar, and the date is here. Box stamp MEG November 15. This is the jar, glass jar. So the box was closed, or the jar was closed, filled in 20, and the cigars rolled 2015. So tobacco is probably 1, 2, or 3 years older than that. So this is definitely a 10-year-old tobacco. And this is the Añejados with the La Casa del Habano second band here. So let's talk about age or vintage cigars. I made a video about how to age your cigars. Why do we age cigars? Very simple. With age, a bit like a red wine, the taste gets smoother, starts blending in. Then the question is how long do you need or do you want to age your cigars? There's a big debate about that. 5, 10, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, even more. Big debate. Cigar specialists that I know, that I talk to, love aging cigars for longer than 30 years, even 40 or 50 years. Some cigars still taste wonderful. Some, of course, lose their strength. A bit like wine. If you've drunk some older wine, sometimes it's wonderful and sometimes it's past their peak. So as far as taste is concerned, for me it goes like this, like a mountain, and then starts with time to go down. So the first Aged Habanos series was made in 2011, and at that time Habanos decided to age cigars for more than 5 years, up to 10 years. And it was called the Añejados series. And they launched Hoyo de Monterrey, La Hoyo de Dieu, and El Rey de Mundo and Vegas Robina. Then in 2014, they released a new Aged Habanos series. This time it was cigars that were aged in their boxes between 5 and 8 years before they were released. And obviously you had a revisado stamp, because they would age the box and then they would open it and check. And you knew with this revisado stamp, you knew that the box had been opened and checked. That was the guarantee that the cigars had been checked. And in this is the list from Cuban Cigar website of the Aged Habanos series cigars released from 2014 to 2021. I've tasted those cigars. I love them. Beautiful. I love aged cigars, so 5 to 8 years is not huge, but it really makes a big difference. And as far as I remember, these cigars were affordable, because they were standard production cigars usually, or sometimes some discontinued that were reinstalled or reinstated. Then in 2024, which was this year in June, Habanos decided to launch or organize the launch of their new vintage series. So it's not Aged Habanos series, it's vintage series. And the vintage series, it's regular production cigars that are aged in perfect condition, between for at least 5 years or longer. Then they are inspected. So they open the box, they inspect them, and they repackage them in special boxes or humidor to be released. So they show you which box it came from. And on top of their regular band, Trinidad, for example, they add a second band called Vintage 5, Vintage 10, Vintage 15, or Grand Vintage 20. As you can see here from the Cuban cigar website. And the first cigar to be released was the Trinidad Fundadores Vintage 10. I saw this humidor. So they aged some boxes and then they emptied the boxes, checked the cigars, and made 1,000 humidors, 55 of them made by a designer. So the 1,000 were made by Dupont, they're numbered humidors, so 1,000 humidors of 55 cigars to celebrate the 55th anniversary of Trinidad. And out of those 1,000 humidors, 55 of them have been made by the designer called Sharaf Tajer. He's the founder of the fashion brand called Casablanca. And you see the two different colors of the humidors that were made in this video I made in June during the London Habanos World Days. So what do we know about the vintage series? Habanos realized that some markets in the UK, Switzerland, Hong Kong like to age their cigars. Some distributors, some shops tended to age the boxes. So the concept is not about leaving the leaves and aging the leaves like they do in some New World brands do before rolling the cigars, aging the leaves. They actually make the cigars, roll the cigars, put them in the box, and then age them. And they've asked the regulatory council, the one that is in charge of checking where the tobacco comes from for the AOP, or the protected appellation of origin of Habanos. These people have to oversee the vintage process. So to be able to qualify as a vintage cigar, it has to be aged for a minimum of 5 years in perfect conditions, and that is 16 to 18 degrees centigrades, and the humidity between 65 and 75. Personally, for me, 75 is quite high, but it shows that it's not a perfect science. I mean, between 65 and 75, it's more than 10% difference. And of course, the atmosphere has got to be perfect, meaning no odor, no smell, no bad smell. It has to be protected. So the cigar has to be packed in original crates intended for sale. So it can be wood or bundles or cedar boxes. So you roll the cigar, you put them in its original box. In the case of the first cigar to be released, it's the Fundadores. So they age them in their original wooden box. And then they open them, check them, and put them in a different humidor. So what do we know? There's going to be a Vintage 5. It's aged for more than 5 years, less than 10. Vintage 10, aged for more than 10 years and less than 15. Vintage 15, minimum 15 years, less than 20, and the Grand Vintage for cigars that age over than 20 years. This is the definition. My friend Gino from Ami Cigar, it's a group of collectors, Cuban cigar lovers and specialists, gave me his own classification. So for them, fresh is less than 1 year, or babies from the roller, fresh is less than 1 year, young is 1 to 3 years, mature is 3 to 10, aged is 10 to 20 years, vintage is over 20 years, historical is over 30 years, and monumental is over 50 years. So, I mean, there's big margin for debate, but this is another definition that Gino gave me and that other collectors have talked about. And Habanos has chosen to do vintage 5, 10, 15 and Grand Vintage over 20 years. Of course, it is their choice. So what do we know about these cigars is they're not going to be accessible to everybody, because in this case they are sold in special humidors made by Dupont, probably worth $20,000 to $40,000. I don't know the price yet, but it's going to be expensive. What will be the price later of the other releases, other brands? Obviously, we don't know, but we can expect that the cigars are going to sell for a lot of money. So they are not going to be our daily smoke unless you're extremely rich. And once again, Habanos is positioning itself as a provider of high-end, premium, expensive cigars, especially for their Trinidad and Cohiba brand. As far as I'm concerned, I prefer to buy my boxes and age them, but not everybody can age cigars. Not everybody has a humidor. Not everybody has the time or the will. So some people will prefer to buy vintage cigars, and I'm going to make a video to show you how and where to buy vintage cigars. Of course, they won't have the vintage band on it, but they will have the box stamp that shows you the age of the box. Of course, you will have no guarantee that this box has been aged well, meaning maybe the box has been moved around, maybe it stayed somewhere on a harbor, maybe there was a power cut and the electricity fell and there was no humidity, or temperature went from 16 to 30. Of course, you don't know, because boxes don't talk. I know there are people now working on special chips that can tell you if temperatures move or if the humidity is moved. This probably will be the future of food, and all the sensitive products like tobacco or wine. These items exist, but at the moment they are not available on the market for cigars that I know of. They exist, but they are not available. So let me know what you think. I'm going to make a video now about the vote that I organized, whether people wanted to have thought it was useful to have two new BK cigars. And the same question again, do we think that there's a need for those expensive cigars? Of course, it's a niche. I don't know if Habanos will succeed in that. If the market is there, we will know if they finally manage to sell 55,000 cigars for maybe $20 million. I don't know how much this is going to raise. It's a big question. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you thinking about buying this box, if you, it would be interesting to smoke this cigar and compare it to a box that has aged of the same year that has aged in your own humidor, to see if there's an added value or an added taste coming from Cuba. So once again, leave me your comments. If you don't mind, please take a few seconds to subscribe to the channel if you're not already doing it. Thank you and goodbye.